Hi and welcome to my Bretonnia tactical video. I'm gonna go through the three main special rules of Bretonnia. First we have the hierarchy of Bretonnia, or the knight's vow. Then we have the blessing of the lady, and finally the lance formation. To start with the hierarchy of Bretonnia, we have the lowest rank, and that is the peasant duty. As you can hear, it's the peasants who have these special rules: the archer, the yeoman, the men-at-arms, the trebs, and so on. The rules is simple. Any units of peasants can use leadership of any knight within 6 inches, which is good because the enemy have like leadership 5 or 6. And you don't lose any victory points if their standard get captured. Then we have the first knight rank, which is called the knight vow, and it's basically mean that they ignore panic caused by any peasant unit and by friendly unit. So if you have an ally, your knight doesn't care if their unit dies or flee through you or anything like that. Next vow is the questing vow, which means you are not allowed to take a lance, and you ignore pang caused by friendly models with peasant duty and friendly units, and you may reroll failed fear and terror test. It have been FAQ'd, so it's no longer reroll failed psychology tests. And finally we have the grail vow. It's make you immune to psychology, and you get a free magic lance with the magic attacks, and you don't have to pray to gain the special rule blessing of the lady. And about the characters, a character with a lower vow than the unit cannot join a unit with a higher vow. So for example, your paladin with only the questing vow or knight vow cannot join a unit of grail knights, but a character with the grail vow can join any unit in the army. So since your knight units have a knight vow or questing vow or grail vow in the beginning, so it's not a lot of tactic you can use for that. With your character, you basically have to choose which vow you have to take depending on what kind of unit you plan to put him in. But if you are unsure, just take grail vow if you don't know if you're gonna put him in the grail knights or questing knights or the realm knights. It's not a very big investment, and you get free magical attacks. And well, and some items demand you to have a special vow. For example, a very common problem Brett players have is that your peasants have low leadership, but they can borrow from your knights. But since your knights are so fast and your peasants are basically often foot troops or fast cav, they are far away from your main battle line. So basically just accept that your peasants will run away. So over to the blessing of the lady. The blessing of the lady is a special rule which will give to the damsel and the prophetess in Bretonnia, and also all knights and the grail reliquaries. So to gain it, you have to let your opponent choose if you want to take the first or the second turn, which is kind of brutal. If you roll up, for example, a scenario where you have to deploy your whole force first, then your opponent just can say, oh, I'm gonna take the first turn, and you really need that ward save and the ward save is you gain 6 up ward save, which is increased to 5 if the hit have a strength of 5 or higher, and you can lose the blessing if either you refuse to take a challenge or if you flee for any reason at all. So how do we handle this problem always having or almost always having the second turn? One thing in deployment is that we can take a lot of cheap drops, like 10 man units of men-at-arms 50 points, or 10 man units of bowmen 60 points, to kind of out deploy your opponent. I think the blessing is important, so you really have to take the second turn, because otherwise we're just gonna die. But if you really wanna surprise your opponent, maybe he believed that you will have the second turn and then got up his unit in a weird way, place his unit in a weird way. There is some way to get around it. One is taking the special character, the Enchantress. She gives you the blessing without having to pray. But of course you have to roll for it then, and well, it's 50-50 chance of you winning that. Or you can have a lot of characters and unit with the Grail Vow. So you will start the game with the Blessing of the Lady without having to pray. And there's a useful item, prayer icon, which can give a unit Blessing of the Lady. So if you want to take the first turn without having to take the special character, Grail Vow, prayer icon, and a lot of units, peasants in the core to fill your core slot instead of realm and errant knights. So over to the lance formation. I will use Universal Battle to try to describe how the Bretonnian lance works. So for when you rank it up, you only have a 3-man frontage, and from the second round and onward you get rank bonus, and you can break steadfast, so you only need 3 knights to make a rank. And what's more important, if one knight die, you have to put away the model in the middle in the rank. That is the last one. As you can see on this picture, I have taken away a knight from the unit. And what also is important, you can put all your knights in lance formation except Pegasus knights, because they are flying cavalry. So this is how the lance works in combat. All the knights with a red cross on it can strike as if they were in base contact, and the blue one can make a support attack if the model in front of him is in actually base contact. So it means that also the horses can strike. And for this lance, for example, you will have 6, 10, 11 attacks, because you always get a free champion in the Bretonnian lance, and you will have 9 horse kicks. And this is only when the lance is charging you get this bonus. When you get charged or are in the second round of combat, you will make normal attacks as the rulebook says. So I want to give you a practical example of a charging lance. Say that all 3 of these knight units charge. So I will get 11 attacks from the middle one, 11 attack from the one with the shields and the swords, and I would get 10 attacks from the green knights, because the model in the middle of the green knights isn't in base contact, so I cannot make the support attack with that knight. So everyone, knight with a red cross on it, everyone in that file can actually strike. And the one with a yellow cross on it, that specific model can make attacks as if it were in base contact. And the blue cross, that knight can make a supporting attack. If your opponent think this is weird, that you get a lot of attack and he gets almost none, you can always show him the FAQ. It clearly states that if a knight unit charge, everyone that is marked on a special picture in the Bretonnia Codex counts as if it were in base contact. So, how do you do with characters? All character, the blue ones on this picture, have to go into the front rank. Don't bother the rulebook, it clearly states in the Bretonnia Codex that you have to put your character in the front rank, which is kind of good because you can make a character wall so your unit doesn't get hurt and your unit can still strike when you charge at least. If you don't charge, you have done something wrong with the Bretonnian army. What you will have to look out for is bolt throwers, for example, that will target a file and some of a character may get hit. A good thing with Bretonnian is that we have such a small frontage, only 3 models. You don't receive as much of attack as other army do, and against you at least. And if one of your character in the character wall would die, you can just send forward a champion and you have another character wall in front of it. And you can put your damsel or prophecies in the second rank in the middle, or if you have 2 of them, and the first one in the second round in the middle and the third one in the third rank in the middle, and so on, which is kind of good because she is protected. But when the rule Bretonnia Codex was written, we didn't know that the miscast would get so harmful. So it's a really bad placement for having a character in the middle of a bus, because basically whatever you roll on the miscast chart, except for the 7-8 I think feedback one, your knights are gonna explode. So I'm gonna first point out the strength of the lance formation. As I previously told you, a character wall with a 3 hard-hitting, almost immortal Bretonnia character, because even if we're human, we are pretty survivable and can deal out a decent amount of damage, especially if you got the heroic killing blow and the challenging lord and stuff like that. And you can send forward the champion. If you only have 2 characters, you'll still have a character wall at least the first turn. In this edition, we have a really big problem with breaking steadfast for cavalry. A lance formation is a good solution for that, because in the lance in the picture I have 5 ranks, and I hopefully will manage to make some damage to my opponent. He will hopefully don't make any damage to me, so his chance of being steadfast is pretty low. Our wizard, mage and stuff like that are pretty survivable. And another good thing is that they have often a lot have magic resistance 1 or 2, which can be combined with the Bleassing, so you can get up to a 3 up ward save against magic missile with strength 5 or up. Or even if you take the banner that give you 4 up ward against missiles, you can get up to 2 up ward save on your unit. It's almost as good as banner of the World Dragon. Well then, what's the weakness of lance formation? The first one is that we have such a long flank. If we take like this, for example, I have a 5 ranks, so I would have a 10-inch flank, and it's pretty hard for opponent to miss that. So it's really up to you. You either break your opponent and run out of the charge arc of your opponent's other units, or you shove up his other units with something to not get flanked, because if you get flanked you are screwed. Bretonnia is pretty good at grinding if you have your character wall, but if you get flanked you don't have your character wall, and then your knights will start dying because they are only toughness 3 and 2 up armor and the Bleassing, so they, even though they can take some damage, or some case a lot of damage, they will die. Next problem we have is in the same area. Actually, we have such a long flank, it's hard to deploy a Bretonnian knights unit. If you have 15 knights, you will have to have a 10-inch back, and then you will have your character wall, which is 3 of them, which make you a 12-inch unit, and then you maybe have to put in your wizard in it, and that's make you a 14-inch unit in an often a lot 12-inch deployment, which you have to make diagonal deployment or something like that, which is kind of hard to do, so I would not recommend a bigger unit than 15 knights. Next problem we have, if we're gonna have a 15-man unit at most, and we want to have 3 characters in it, we will have 12 knights, maybe a damsel, so let's say we have 11 knights. To kill 11 knights and your opponent get the first turn, it's not hard thing to do, especially if you meet handgunners, organ gun, armor piercing, no armor save stuff. You will shoot through them pretty quickly, and the problem is if you lose too many bodies, you need to have 5 rank and file, does not include champion, which you must have in a Bretonnian knight unit. It doesn't get your lookouts there, so your character will get very vulnerable to cannon shots, not ball throwers, grudge throwers, traps, anything like that will not give you a lookout, sir. So that's a weakness with a low body count. Well, the next one is, I have already touched about this, so I'm gonna do it quick. If our damsel or prophecy is miscast, everything in this table is hurtful for Bretonnia, even the one everyone in base contacts will suffer a strength 10 hit, because, well, that means 8 of your knights gonna suffer a strength 10 hit. The only one is feedback, but, well, your wizard suffering wounds is also bad, but you will hopefully have life to heal them up. And well, another thing is, so you don't want to put your prophecies into your gravelands if you're gonna throwing 6 dice wellers or something like that. So I'm gonna finish this video with showing something sneaky you can do if you have a beast mage. You can actually throw savage beast, which is usually 6 dice for getting bubble, and hope for double 6 and blow up some knights, no problem. And well, you can make way with her to one of the right or the left file to make her strike with all of her strength 7 for attacks instead of a knight. And another thing, you can also take her back a file, so move a knight in the middle who cannot strike forward to the 2nd rank in the middle to make him make support attack. It doesn't state anywhere in the make way rules that you cannot make way backwards or to the flank of your knight unit, so that's totally legit. So that's it for this video. If you have any question or think one of my rule or basically another tactical advice for Brett's player, just post it in the comments and I will get to you. Well, thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.